All right, look, setting goals is not your problem. The secret is doing. And the link between goal setting and doing is motivation and, more importantly, habit formation. Yeah, I know you guessed it. We're going to be talking about goal setting and how to reach your goals. In that, we have pain and pleasure. Good habits equal good repetitions. Some of the key terms in this episode is dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. Now, by the time we finish this, I'm going to have a design for doing and undoing your habits. And we're going to talk about triggers, rituals, and rewards. Once again, I have the wonderful Sugey Gomez, soon to be doctorate in sports psychology, joining us today. What's happening, Sugey?
It's happening. We're here at 10 a.m. making this rock. No, everything's good. Every time you say I'm about to be like sport clinical psychologist, I think 7 years later, 5 years later, 6 years later. It feels like a really long journey, but anyways, all is good here. Excited to talk about goal setting and what that brings to the performer and athlete.
So, we're going to get right into this and pop some corn today, ladies and gentlemen. Define a goal, and we always hear about smart goals. And for those in the know, maybe we got a 14 or 15-year-old listening to this. Let's talk about it, Sugey. What does goal mean? Define that for us.
Of course. So goal is essentially an aim or an action that has a specific timeline. Really looking at having a timeline to when you want to execute it, when you want to do it. If you not having a timeline or a set time that you want to complete this, then it's more like a wish or just a thing that you want to do. So the big thing to defining it is an aim or an action, usually with a specific time. And did you want me to speak about SMART goals too?
Yeah, talk to us about SMART goals. You had went out briefly for a second, but define SMART goals and why would somebody want to adhere or pay attention to that or keep that vigilant as a goal setting mechanism?
Yeah, so I thought about SMART goals. It's not my most favorite, but it's something that I feel it is very tangible and people or athletes or performers can relate to. And SMART goals is an acronym for basically aiming for that goal setting. And it's a great way to really have an exercise with an athlete or performer to get them to sit down and look at what their goals are about. I actually used this during my second internship with an athlete, and it was pretty meaningful and pretty essential for her to be able to see her SMART goals. And we had it in a full-on handout that I had created. But to speak on it more directly, so SMART is, like I said, it's an acronym, and SMART stands for something. Each letter stands for something. So if you're looking at doing a goal, looking at it to be, for example, the S standing for specific, the M standing for measurable, the A standing for achievable or adjustable, and then the R standing for realistic, and the T from SMART standing for time or time dependent. And each of them has a way to really break down a goal. So for example, if you want to look at a goal of maybe you want to get better at a jump shot, and that's the specific. So you can have each one, the S, the M, the A, the R, the T, break those down and look at the specific goal you're looking at. What is it you're looking at? For example, I want to get better at free throws. Great. Now let's look at it. How is it measurable? Can you actually measure it? For example, okay, I want to get better. Let's say I want to increase my free throws within like a month, 4 weeks. Okay, each week being able to measure and see the difference that you are going up in number. For instance, maybe the first week I want to do, before practice, I want to get 10 free throws in a row. Next week, I want to get another 5, and so forth and so on. And then adjustable or achievable, really looking to be able, that goal that you're looking at, which is say increase your free throws, is to really look at being able to be flexible with it and being able to adjust as you go. Because as we know, sometimes they're not going to be perfect goals. So being able to adjust to that And then realistic, really being able to say that, okay, this goal that I'm looking to do is realistic to me, and not be too extreme or too low in the sense of really aiming to attain that goal. And most importantly, the time, like when do you plan to complete or execute this goal that you're looking to do? Again, going back to the definition of a goal, an aim or an action, usually with a specific time limit. So this is just like very basic, but an acronym that helps with really getting you to start marinating and really looking at how to build goals in your performance.
Yeah, and I'll add to this real quickly. This is notorious for football athletes. So I'm talking specific to football athletes right now, because when you talk about skill players and getting to like a Division I level, everything is based on size and speed. And if you play quarterback, running back, receiver, defensive back, how fast can you run the 40-yard dash in? And let's be honest, we get kids that enter high school, they might have been clocked at a 5.0 or 5.140 laser time, and then they're fortunate enough to play JV, play some varsity as a freshman, and you'll get that kid and that parent, oh, I want to drop my 40 down to a 4.5 by next year when I go to this camp or this opening. Well, everything is measurable because I do everything with electronic timing. I do a laser start and a laser finish. So everything we do from that point is definitely measurable. But if you're telling me that you want to take 0.5 of a second off of your 40 in like 9 months, that's not going to be achievable. It's not going to be realistic. So we have to adjust that. And what might be more realistic is going from a 5.0 to a 4.8, over the next 6 to 7, 8 months. So I get that all of the time. So part of that, we're going to get into how do you achieve that goal? You have to have some habits, and some of your habits might be working out a habit to where your habit might be working out 3 or 4 times a day in the summer. And that might be that morning workout with your school from like 8 to 9:30, and then you're coming to train at the park to do some sprint work, the block starts, or working on your first 10 to 20 yards, because that's most important, in these short races or short runs, and then going back to the gym, maybe doing some hip mobility, early afternoon, and coming back late in the afternoon around 5 or 6 to do some more work or some light stretching. That's how you get to where you want to be. Those are habits. Those are, that's going to become a part of your daily ritual when you're trying to achieve a goal. Now, speaking of goals, I think I'm hitting on this. Sugey, tell us why athletes benefit from setting goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one, I'll speak on 3 things the way athletes can benefit from goals. First, they can increase performance, and goals give a focus and a direction, an effort towards a goal, and performance can increase when goals have been set. Also, looking at it increases positive thoughts. I mean, just thinking about it, it kind of makes sense intuitively. So athlete or performer sees himself or herself progress towards a goal, again, an aim or an action that has a timeline or a time set. He or she is likely to have positive reactions. Like, for example, if I'm setting a goal and I'm starting to see that I'm increasing in it or I'm actually attaining it, that's going to get me excited and want to continue to keep going forward. With that excitement, it's possibly that 3, it increases my confidence. The more I'm able to see that the challenge of the goal and actually be realistic, like R for realistic and the SMART goals, then it helps create like stronger belief in myself. It helps me feel more confident in my certain goals that I'm getting to. And that's exciting. And it helps, again, increase my enhancement and increase my preferred. So again, 3 ways that athletes can benefit from goals is increased performance, increased positive thoughts, and increased confidence.
Yeah, I like all of this, and this is good because, before I was talking about, habits and goals, and when you're trying to get somewhere, you got to go above and beyond. You got to set some super goals. And part of that, most people can't fathom a young athlete working out 4 times a day. That's very rare unless we're in China or the Soviet Union. Over here in the States, people frown down upon things like that. Oh, you're going to get injured from training. It's overuse injuries. Yeah, that might happen if you're training with a dummy or some ignorant coaches or some ignorant trainers. Yes, that will happen. But when you're around intelligence, somebody like myself, who's around physical therapists every day, and it's not like we're going to beat you up in 4 workout sessions every single session throughout the day. Some of that's going to be linear sprint training. Some of that's going to be hip mobility. Some of that might be foam rolling and just stretching. And then it might be some plyometrics, depending on what our goals and needs are. But I want to say to the sports parent, the young athlete listening to that, if one thing we know is that the scientists, so-called scientists, they're still figuring out ways to understand this complex organism in our body called the brain. So you can dictate whatever you want to do. You can't let somebody tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing when they don't even understand how powerful the brain is. But if you do listen to that, and you do choose to have what I call a slave mentality, because the slave mentality is a person that's going to do what they're told to do. They don't think, they don't speak up for themselves, they don't ask questions, and they don't stand up. You're always going to fail in whatever goal you're trying to reach, sport, academic, or life. So this first part that Sugey is talking about is that you just got to take action and do the thing, and do it with positive and constructive thoughts. And I promise you, you will increase confidence, but you have to believe that you can do it and not listen to somebody else or not listen to some fictitious journal, that's propagating something else or trying to sell something to you, So I'm very adamant about this as far as the student athlete, the sports parent, and any individual in life taking their own life into their own hands to get what they want to get, be who they want to be, do what they want to do, and have what you want to have. So this starts with goals. So as we transition, Sugey, to the second half of this conversation, talk to us about types of goals in sports psychology.
Yes, this is pretty important. This is something that I really enjoy talking about, and I think it's crucial for athletes, performers, or really any individual to see when it comes to sport, these different goals. I feel like essentially we think like, oh, there's just one goal. There's actually different types of goals, and there's 3 that I'm going to talk about. So one of them is the outcome goal, 2 is performance goal, and 3 is process goals. And the biggest thing for me that really I want to kind of put out there is that really focusing on 2 of the goals that I'll say here in a second that are actually under the athlete or performer's control. There's 3 goals. There's outcome goals, there's the performance goals, and there's process goals. And the 2 ones that I really want to share and really emphasize is the performance goals and process goals, which is where athletes and performers or individuals in general have control over more so than the outcome goal. What I'm saying is usually coaches or others or even athletes, we tend to focus on the outcome goal, which is, for example, winning. Did you win the game? Great. What was the score? When in reality, if we actually try to take a step back and look at the performance goals and process goals of the individual, eventually those are going to get you to the outcome goal. So let me kind of back up a little bit. So let me define these. So your outcome goal is related to the desired result of the competition. For example, winning, the end goal of a certain task or aim you're trying to do. And this the athlete has no control over this. Then you also have your performance goal. That refers to the athlete's performance in relation to their previous performance. For looking at the person, like say, I look at myself and I'm looking at my performance. I'm looking at, let's say, my midterm. A midterm, I I do good on the midterm, maybe I get an 80%. Then I'm going to look at my performance at my last midterm for my second midterm to be better, hopefully. So I'm looking at my performance in relation to my past performance. And another example for that would be improving free throw shots from, let's say 70% to 80%. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. Yes. And then you also have the process goals, which is a particular skill you're aiming to do. So these are, again, in the athlete's control. And this is, for example, maybe a batter keeping his eye on the ball. So really looking at the performance goals and process goals, working hopefully on those more so than the outcome goal, because those are the ones that the athlete has control over. Those are the ones that are specific to the athlete, that, going back to controlling what you can control, controlling the controllables. Those are the goals that really shape and get you to eventually that outcome goal. For example, winning the game.
Yeah, because, as a skill player and a skill athlete, like quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, the quarterback wants to throw for 5 or 6 touchdowns in a game, pass for 400 yards. The receiver wants to catch 10 balls and have 300 yards receiving. The running back wants to rush for 250 or 300 yards, score 4 touchdowns. And that's not dreams. That's not dreaming. You have to see that, and you have to expect that, because I visualized that for years. And then it finally happened, in like a 3-week period where I scored 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns playing indoor football. And it felt like the same as scoring 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns. I kept trying to get another one. When I got down there close to the end zone, I'm getting in. But you don't control that. What you can control, like you said, is like your performance. Can you execute each play? Do you know what's going on each play with the guys around you? Do you know your assignment? Do you know your teammates' assignment in relationship to a particular play? And when it comes to process goals, you can control yourself by showing up every day in practice. You can control yourself by having a good attitude, knowing what's going on, understanding assignments, understanding alignments of particular players, understanding what the defense is going to throw at you, studying film. That's part of the process. And if you do those little daily things or your daily task in relationship to what you want, whether it's a dream or like your SMART goal, it's going to happen. You just have to believe it's going to happen and block everything else out, and only hang around people or listen to people that is backing you and on your side with what you're trying to achieve. So again, with everything that Sugey is talking about, when you understand outcome goals versus performance goals versus process goals, you're going to be all right. Understanding the 3. And what this is all about today in terms of goal setting, we want to put you in a position to be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and have what you want to have. That's what this is about. Sugey, did you, as we get into the 4th quarter, and talking about goal setting, is there something that you missed, or what else would you like to add to this?
Really having like a plan, like not, I feel sometimes we could take for granted like setting goals, and really remembering that our brain is wired to be goal oriented. So essentially our brains are already giving us goals without us really necessarily knowing. For example, the basics from staying alive, sleeping, eating, and if you really want to like attain something, really look at planning to set your goals, whatever they are. And you might ask like, well, how do I do that? Where do I start? I think first, obviously listening to this, getting a little sense of what we're talking about, and connecting with people that can help you in that arena. And I think that's what I had to say about that, and really consider working through setting goals, exactly, especially too in your performance, whether that's in school, in life skills, or even in sport in general. It's important to have those, because without them, without the aim or the action and the time, you're just going to be dreaming and wishing.
Yeah, I agree with you, because, my days go better when I have everything that needs to be done, even the small things, even if it's for 15 minutes, it has to be on my calendar. And my calendar is like my planner to go from one thing to the next. Now, within that, some things I might have to be done, or meetings, or been in a particular location at a particular time. Outside of that, when it comes to personal things, even things related to this podcast, I got to put the most important things first and get it done. And that was the thing, is like, we couldn't even be talking to y'all right now unless I had my shit together, my goals. I had to go through a whole course for 2 months. And then I procrastinated for another month before I released the show. And then everything seemed so sophisticated at first. But as I kept going through this, editing, uploading to the hosting site, getting everything set up, now it just runs smooth. All I got to do is we record, edit, show goes up. Now, in my habits, one of my habits with this, as soon as I get done, this uploads, I take it, it's an MP3, and I'll put it into my editing system. So then when I come back later on in the evening or at nighttime, I start the edit and it's right there. Everything's up. I've just put my the desktop on sleep while I'm gone. And as soon as I hit the return button, that window comes up and then I start editing. And so that's one of my little rituals or habits, to stay on task so we don't record and then I'm getting to this like 3 weeks later. Not a good thing to do. Doesn't work for me. And it's happened before because I get busy doing certain things, so this is really good because football season is over. I don't know if y'all know, I've been coaching a youth football team and a high school JV team. So we have a little more time. You can expect more shows coming out weekly. We'll get back to dropping 2 or 3 episodes in a week. We'll get back to our regular Tuesday episode. So be patient with me. I've been really busy. Good opportunities, coming down the pipeline for your folks. So we just got to keep going. The only thing I'll say is before we leave is, you have to have a design for doing or undoing a particular behavior. And the best way I can relate this to is to fitness, your health and wellness. I know for me, 2 to 3 times a week, I get up at 5 o'clock. I'm at the gym by 5:30. So when the alarm goes off, that's pretty much my trigger to go brush my teeth, turn on all of the lights. So I have to wake up. I have to get up. I take my shower the night before. So as soon as I brush my teeth, I put my clothes on, I'm out the door within 10 minutes. Not going to take a 20-minute shower, not going to check the email and get distracted for 30 or 45 minutes after waking up. I got to get right to the gym and then do the thing that needs to be done, whether it's lower body work, hitting a punching bag, doing some upper body work, doing my hip mobility, and then I come back home. Now I feel rewarded, might have a cup of coffee, might have a bullet coffee, something. Got that out the way. And oftentimes what I found, Sugey, if I get the first workout in the morning and if I have time later in the evening, it's easier to get the second workout in for whatever reason, even after a long, busy day. But if I don't work out early in the morning and I don't get it at noon, probably not going to go at 7 or 7:30 because I'm exhausted by then. So I know what works for me, and at the end of the day, good habits equal good repetitions. You have to have enthusiasm. If you have good habits, you have good enthusiasm, the self-doubt will leave. I can promise you. So why don't you go ahead and take us out of here, Sugey? What are your final thoughts on this conversation?
And once again, Deshaun puts me on the hot seat. I'm just kidding. So let's see. I think the last thing I want to say about goal setting is the goal. Hopefully the goal eventually is to start seeing these like mini goals or just essentially goals in general, start being like autopilot, start having your brain do less work and just continue, just do it like just waking up, do it like you're brushing your teeth. And the biggest thing, as I've talked before, is that consistency, right? Being able to continue to do it and stay in that persistence and stay with that tenacity until finally, eventually you will get to where it's an autopilot. And I think that's my one takeaway, and hopefully a thought for you all to consider that, once you set a goal, whatever that is, that action or that aim, be able to do it more and more, even when the challenges come, and keep going, because eventually, hopefully your brain will see it as an autopilot and you'll be able to do it without even thinking, which is what your brain will love, being able to do things with less work.